Bosh, welcome back everyone to episode like 120 or something, fucking hell, of Catabolic Window. We're here with Mr. REECE FIT, Reece Pearson. Hope they're pronounced your surname the right way. Is it Pearson?
Yeah, easy.
Man, easy. Luke is in the ether. He'll be here eventually. Until then, it's date night. So, how's your week been? What you been up to recently, mate?
Honestly, mate, not a lot from the norm. I'm quite basic. I feel like I just do the same shit every single day. So yeah, week's been all good. Little bit of family stress from Sanaya's side, start of the week, which wasn't ideal. So we planned like a little nice night on Sunday. That changed to her going to a hospital, but everything's all good away from that.
Okay.
So yeah, a little bit of that. To be fair, that's actually the only thing. But otherwise, literally since opening the gym, I'm either at the gym, at home on my laptop, or training. There's not really, or at a show with clients, which sounds so like, it probably to some sounds cool, but to others probably sounds like quite boring. But to me, that's just my life. So I'm quite simple at this point.
All good, mate. All good. Let me just let Luke in.
Oh, has he joined? He's turned up.
Oh, he's gone now. Brilliant. To be fair, I kind of skipped over a little bit. There we go. Luke, we're already live. We're into it. So welcome in, mate. But yeah, to be fair, I jumped into your week, but I didn't say that. Anyone who doesn't know, I think people who know us are probably going to know of you, mate. I'd be amazed if there's people who know us and don't know you. But give a quick rundown of yourself. Introduce
Okay,
yourself.
cool. You know what? It's actually, I will say, the one thing about owning the gym is it's so cool because I don't have to introduce myself as an online coach. Like, it's the one. So like when I was at a FitX panel and I was like, oh, I'm a gym owner now. I don't have to be like, I'm an online coach like every other person in the industry. So yeah, you know what? Worldwide online coach. I'm sorry for everyone that's cringing, who's listening to this. Prep coach technically, kind of now, but not really. Like still a bit of both. But I got a lot of guys on stage, which is quite cool. Gym owner. Decent junior men's physique bodybuilder. Now very, very average to pretty shit open bodybuilder. And yeah, like, I've been getting worse year on year bodybuilding while I get bigger. It's really, really bizarre and awful comedian. Sorry, my jokes. I'm just really not very funny. So yeah, that's an introduction. I'm always pretty shit at introducing myself because I said I don't really feel like I just do the same shit as most people. Like I do the same stuff as you guys, basically. Just the gym obviously is a little bit different now. So yeah, that's an introduction to me.
I think it's hard to give like an outside perspective on kind of who you are because you're too used to just being yourself. Sorry, Luke, I cut you off, mate. What are you going to go for?
I was going to say, evening, Reece. Thank you for coming on. Why do you think you've got that, or people have that sort of cringe of like, oh, I'm an online coach? Do you know what I mean?
Well, the standard is like anybody can be an online coach. You know, if you search online coach on Instagram, most of the time the guys have like legitimately 2 clients, if that, and there's no qualification needed. It's a very easy to get into market. There's a lot of people that you can look pretty good, like in a way. Not to make this about myself, even though I am the guest, so sorry. But like my coaching's done really, really well this last couple of months, and unfortunately, it's aligned with me just looking better, which doesn't make sense, and I don't think should be the case because I'm not a better coach. Like obviously, my clients have done well, but I'm getting a lot of applications from lifestyle guys just because they see a photo or a reel of me that's done well, or a video where I'm doing a bicep curl and I've got striations and I'm vascular, you know, so. That's why I think it's a bit of a weird sort of market to get into because anybody can say they're a coach, but like you guys know, like there's a big difference between good coaches and maybe not as good.
Yeah, it's like I've got a car. Okay, cool. Have you got a 19th century scrap heap, or have you got a Ferrari? A little bit different, right?
Yeah, literally.
So what kind of got you into there's a classic question, we can skim over this is a boring one. I've got a list and they're going to get more fun as we go in, but what got you into bodybuilding?
Let's start with the fun ones.
You start with the fun ones.
No, I'll give an introduction because it's not actually like, it's a little bit different. It's literally similar to what I just mentioned there. I got lean for a holiday. I started training when I was 13 and there was no one in my gym that was like taking training serious, and I was always the geek where I'd like listen to podcasts if I had a flight or if I had a long drive. I'd always be listening to a podcast regarding training. I've asked my mum. My mum still pays my Train by JP members website, I'm pretty sure. So I'm sorry, mum. Like I need to cancel that. But like she genuinely, like I begged her for all the subscriptions that I could when I was like 15, 16, 17, when I had like no money. And I trained quite seriously, and I had like a pretty decent physique. Obviously, genetically, I'm okay, I guess. I let you boys chip in, but regardless, I took them all right, I'd say. And I always progressed at a pretty decent rate. And then I got really lean for a holiday when I was like 19, and I got a load of messages being like, bro, what are you doing? How'd you get this lean? So I was like, oh, I guess I'll make some money to like put on FIFA or something. Like, I have a sick ultimate team. So I was like just saying, yeah, I'll sell your training plan, guys, for like 20-30 quid. And then that kind of like snowballed into people wanting me to help them on a bit more of a long-term basis. So, but maybe a bit of a different introduction. I basically just started coaching to get a sick team of FIFA, and I got a sick team of FIFA. So, yeah.
So what kind of because obviously you transitioned at some point from like getting lean into a holiday to actively competing. What's the kind of main driver there, or how did that kind of develop?
Well, I was training with Finn. So me and Finn met a few years before we both competed. He competed for the first time in 2020, like lockdown basically, whereas like show got moved back, show got cancelled. And before that, I was always just the guy that looked pretty decent, stayed like, looking back, I go on holiday at like genuinely like 3 weeks out conditioning, leaner than a lot actually get on stage, especially in like men's physique. And I just thought, oh, this is normal, like going on holiday, my dick not working, eating no carbs for like months. And I used to do cardio on the Stairmaster till I went hypo. Like that was my time. It wasn't how long do you do it, it's until I went hypo. It was like there was no in between. And I just thought this was like what bodybuilding was, but I never wanted to get on stage. And then I saw Finn go through the process. He was getting coached by AJ. I kind of surrounded myself with the natties, but I was like, this kind of isn't for me. And I kind of knew that like with like potential wise, I was like, right, I'm going to go down the assisted side. I'd already come up and down multiple times body weight, and I was like basically looking the same. I didn't hit my like genetic natural like potential, but I was quite close relatively. I would have to have spent ages to put on a slight amount of muscle. I don't even know if you can put on muscle when you're natural. I'm not sure, guys. Is it possible? I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it is possible. But I put on like that 2 grams of tissue, and I was like, I'm probably quite like close to my natural potential here. So like seeing Finn compete, then I was like, fuck it, I'm a junior. I still was a junior the following year, but I was like, Finn's competed, let me have a go at it. And then I kind of got into it from that.
What's the kind of I guess it's a bit of a cliche question, a bit of a weird question, but do you have, because you spoke about, I feel like you're acutely aware that you're a pretty damn good bodybuilder, like potential wise, right?
I think with my knee injury, it kind of like, I think now maybe, but like if you'd said to me like 4 or 5 months ago, I'd be like, no, I'm actually like pretty shit because my knee like did fuck me up a bit.
Is there like, do you have, I don't know if expectations the right word, or like realistic goal? Do you have an idea of like, obviously everyone's goal in bodybuilding is go as far as you can, sure.
Yeah.
If you were to look back as old man Reece, if you make it that far,
don't know, guys.
If you look back on your career and you'd be like, right, I did that, so I'm satisfied. I wanted to do that. I set out to do that. Do you have like a kind of like that within bodybuilding?
Not really. No, I don't really think too far ahead. I think almost like I've always kind of structured my life just based off what I'm doing in the moment and if I'm enjoying it. And there was like a genuine consideration when I finished my last prep, because I did think, and I do kind of still stand by it, if I had got into bodybuilding a little bit earlier, I think I probably would have won a pro card in men's physique, just based off of what they went for criteria wise. And like kind of that changed. I got a bit too big and I was a bit too blocky. My back shot wasn't tapered enough for men's physique. But if I had like, let's say, got into it a bit earlier, get a pro card, whatever. Like the goal was never really a pro card. The goal was, and the goal still isn't really a pro card. It's just enjoying it. And when I finished my last prep, I was like, I'm too heavy for classic. So I was like 6 kilos heavier in men's physique than my classic weight cap. Funnily enough, I was actually at my pro men's physique weight cap. So sorry, Luke, what'd you say, mate?
I was just like, not a good start for moving to classic then.
Yeah, no, not a good start. I'm gonna have to lose size. Yeah, I was at my I was at my men's physique pro weight cap as a first timer junior. So that was like probably, yeah, it's not like boding well. So like I've always been quite like a structurally big dude, but I just pursued men's physique. So it was like when I finished, I was like, well, I'm not that good in men's physique. I was better as a junior. I'm way too heavy for classic, and I'm fucking tiny for open. And do I want to full send open and lose my hair? Not saying that's obviously going to be the case, but like there was a lot of considerations that I thought, and I was like, this is really like what I'm after. And I stayed pretty lean through the summer of 2023, and then I was like, right, fuck it, let me just see how things go. And that's kind of how it's been going since. Like I'd like to say in 10-15 years that I would get a pro card, I do really well. But then also at the same time, it's all relative to what I'm doing in the moment, and if I'm enjoying it. And there's a lot of risks that are associated with open bodybuilding. And I've always been, believe it or not, slightly more on the cautious side. As much as my training's probably a bit fucking silly, that's more so what I'm silly with. Like when it comes to like food, eating 7,000 calories daily for like a year, I fucking hate it. I don't like, if I stopped bodybuilding, I would eat 2 meals a day. I don't enjoy the eating. The training I love, but I only eat to train. The sleeping, like I have CPAP lines on my face. Like I've been dieting now, I've not been using the CPAP. I fucking loved not having to use it. Like there's a lot of stuff with bodybuilding that I'm just like, is this really worth it? But I'm in it now, you know. And that's not to say I don't enjoy it. It's just those sort of considerations. So until the sort of like fire is not there, I'll go at it 100%. And I've always done like that. So we'll see. Like I imagine, if I'm being honest, my rate of progression, I'll probably bullshit a pro card at some shit. I'll FitX Pro. That's what I'll get. A FitX Pro card. That's the goal, right?
If you didn't have that weight limit, if there wasn't a weight cap on classic or men's physique, would you have stayed and pursued them, or do you like them the most, or do you not care?
I've never really trained. I've trained just to train. That's literally what it's like. Like I only ever did men's physique because I suited it relative to my musculature, and my knees have always been very shit. So I could never really, like, before I really understood training, which is crazy because I was telling people training plans at this point. Sorry guys. Yeah, but like I was like only doing legs like once every 10 days because I do squat variants and my knees would just get pissed off. And for some reason, when you're 19, 20, you don't think, maybe I just don't do the squat variants. But I was like, nah, bro, I got to fucking do 5 plates on the cervix hack and then be disabled for the next week. So yeah, like I've never thought to myself, I got to train for this, got to train for that. Like I'm not in the gym training thinking I need my upper chest to be bigger. I'm training because I'm like, I want to fucking press 5 plates on an incline Smith. Do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of like where my head's at.
I find that really weird because nobody else does that anywhere else in life. But they're like, oh, this thing really hurts me, I'm gonna carry on doing it. Like you don't put your hand on a hot stove and go, yeah, I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna do that next week, and I'm gonna do it for a bit longer. But they're like, oh,
I don't know, man. There was a self-harm club in my school that was really fucking popular back in the
day. That's going in. That's
sorry to any self-harmers out there.
That's the real. I like that idea that you're kind of almost like you have like a pursuit of performance, and then the tissue is like an access to that performance, and that's quite interesting because I feel like a lot of people see it the other way around. They're like, I want to press 5 plates because imagine how big my chest is, but you're like, I guess I'll grow my chest so I can press 5 plates almost.
Yeah, in a way. I wouldn't even say it's growing my chest. It's more so like the training is like, it's, I don't know if it's pride, if it's ego, if it's like I just set myself like stupid fucking goals and I'm like, right, cool, that's what I've got to do. And it's like there's no like option. It's like I'm doing it, you know, like that's just how my brain works. I've been like that with everything I've done without realizing. Like when I like got into the gym in the first place, not to go on a tangent here, but like I was playing Call of Duty and I was playing academy level football at the time before, and I stopped going to football training because I was like, I need to be the best at this game. And it was like, I think it's like, honestly, probably if I was 10 years younger, I would have been tested for like autism and stuff, and I probably would have popped through on every test, because it's like once my brain gets like kind of locked in on a goal, it's like I just can't really rest, and it's just like, this is what I need to do. There's nothing else, and it's like, you know, the blinkers are on, which in some aspects really good, in other aspects probably not the best, you know.
Where do you think that's negatively affected your life?
I think it's better now in a way where like I can see, like I've got Sanaya, who's very honest with me. Like I'm not hard to live with at all, I'd say, and she'd probably back it up because I just stick to myself. But like before I was like living with her, it was like there wasn't any, like I was almost quite empathetic without realizing. Like I remember Sanaya calling me up when she was 2 weeks out from PCA finals where we're doing the same show. And I basically just said to her, like, we were together, but we weren't like together. We were only seeing each other for a few months. And I like literally ended the call with like, look, I haven't got enough energy for you and I haven't got enough energy for me. Let's just speak after the show. And it was like me, when she just needed me to be like, come on, get a fucking grip. I was like, fuck off, no, leave me alone. Like, and that to me in the moment was like, this is 100% the right decision. When I look back and think, I probably should have just been like, look, you fine, just crack on, it's cardio. You know, so I think like in that way, and that's not to say I feel like I'm a dickhead. I'm not. I'm just very much just like, if it's not positive to me, I just don't need it. I don't have loads of friends. I have my clients, and I'm probably a lot more social now. But like at uni, I didn't speak to anybody. Like I didn't need to. I was pretty sound. I'd go on a few dates here and there, like to fucking mini golf or whatever. And then most of the time I was like, nah, she's not going to understand that I need to eat my meals and stuff like that. I was just so weird. So yeah, I've definitely become a lot more relaxed because I've got people around me that are probably a little bit more socially like aware of how I am. But yeah, it's just a creature of habit, I guess.
Most bodybuilders are definitely a little bit autistic.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, definitely.
It's a weird sport, isn't it? Like it all boils down to just like bigger muscles, but it just keeps going. Like and then you do thing over and over and over again. And like particularly with like assisted bodybuilding, it's like, yeah, shave a few years off for bigger biceps, basically.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, I think it's like exacerbated because like my mum is so similar, and I grew up as an only child, basically just my mum, and I'd eat the same dinner every day because it wasn't like you know how I don't know if you guys were like in a family where it's like, oh, what's for tea, mum? And it's like, oh, we're having this tonight, and then Tuesday something different, and Wednesday something different. Like I'd eat the same dinner, same lunch, same breakfast. And like the transition was really easy into bodybuilding, but it was like my mum runs, tracks her food, does the exact same shit I've done. So from a very young age, I was just exposed to like, you have like my mum works, she doesn't really sleep, she's very like she works harder than anyone I know. So I was like, okay, cool, this is how you live your life, you know. So I didn't really have the classic like, you know, upbringing where you're 15, you go to McDonald's with the boys, you then like get a fake ID to go out. Like I didn't really do anything like that, but that was fine. I was just in the gym. So yeah.
Do you think that you would have enjoyed that if you had been brought up by it, or if you went to that now, do you think you'd enjoy it?
Nah, no chance. I think like, especially looking back, like, you know, I feel like you get those people like, oh, I regret or I'm happy I did it, and it's like, no, I'm sound. Like I'm cool. I'm very appreciative of my upbringing, but I do know it's created this like extremely autistic character that I have to like tell to fuck off most of the time.
You kind of touched on training a little bit there, and I thought we'd talk about that. Obviously, me and Reece briefly spoke about the time on detention reel that came up. That was quite funny. Yeah, what do you? I mean, I think it's no secret that like your training definitely gets some criticism thrown its way. I don't know if you're aware or not, but time.
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, I'd say so. I don't really have any thoughts. Like I don't really give too much of a fuck in the nicest way possible. Like training is training. We're all spending time in the gym. Okay, so all of us spend time in the gym. How you choose to spend your 2 hours, how I choose to spend my 2 hours. Cool, sound, you do you. I think like in a which sounds so cocky. Sorry, everyone who's listening. My progress speaks for itself, and you can see my physique and my progress and go, okay, cool, something's clearly working. But I also will always back it up. And like whenever I hear that, I'll get like, oh, your training gets a lot of criticism. Away from my T-bar rows, everything is pretty much full range of motion. And even my T-bar rows they're just a little bit sloppier. And I think a lot of the times people look at the guys who are stronger, and like, again, this sounds really cocky, but it is the truth. There's not many guys in the UK who are at my age who have kind of come up the same sort of time who are as strong as me. And I think naturally people will try to find negatives with anything that someone's doing better than that or doing well at themselves. So it's like there's some element of like just looking for negatives. And then as well, I always find it bizarre because like if you were to look at, let's say, which again, I get it completely, I post my T-bar rows and I don't always post my single arm pull downs. But if you were to come and train with me, see me in the gym or watch one of my YouTube videos, like 90% of my stuff is probably very much the 2025 single arm things quite aligned to what we need to actually target. And then I might have 2 to 3 to 4 sets per session where it's like, let's just have some fucking fun. Let's just, you know, full send. And I think again, unfortunately nowadays, again, it's the content that I put out 100%. Like I don't post every single arm pull down or dual arm cable lat pullover or single arm cable row, but people will just see a T-bar row and go, that's how he trains. And it's like, no, that's 2 sets out of 15 sets in that session, you know?
It's the same as going, oh, he only posted T-bar row. His entire session must be a T-bar row.
Yeah, but no one thinks that. No, but people will just see the negatives, and like it's funny because like when I like got lean this year, I've like had a lot of people be like, "Oh my god, mate, your back's come up," and like how many people took the piss out of your TROs? I'm like, I didn't even realize people were taking the piss. Like people can do what they want. Like I got in a whole argument with Yemi last year over bent over rows, and it's and like they just spit my training. I upset Yemi because I was bent over rowing, and we were at a Conte meetup and he said I need to lighten the weight, and I said to him if he can deadlift it I'd give him like $1,000, and he didn't try. So like it's one of those, like, but that being said, that was just from me being in the gym training. That was nothing from me to him. There was no other time I said anything. It was very much just like just literally just like me just training. But again, it annoys people, but then also it never comes from people that are stronger. So it's like, it's always like I don't know, you know.
I feel like you're like kind of method of training, if you can call it that. Like, I don't know, that's kind of wanky, but like the industry right now is very like obsessed with control, range of motion, and then letting load fall where it falls, where I'd say you're more focused on like pursuit of load, particularly on like certain movements, right?
Yeah.
I definitely feel like a lot of your client base are very, very kind of like similarly aligned with you. Do you think that's something that like kind of comes from your coaching, or do you just kind of find people who are like, I go to the gym to lift, therefore I'll go to REECE, you know?
Yeah, I'd say so, to be fair. I'd say probably the latter, if I'm honest. Like, there's definitely, like, if someone was to do, let's say, a T-bar row with the exact same execution, I would probably be like, right, is this actually progressing? And is your back getting better? And if it's not, then cool, man, we probably need to make an adjustment here. Or maybe do it for one set, and then maybe second set, let's bring it down a touch. You know, you don't need to be sloppy. Like, it can be better. And I'll always, like, if you look at any of my clients train, like there's that element where it's like you'll get some genuine freaks like who are ridiculously strong, but then you'll also get the elements of like really like, let's say, well performed training, and as a result their physique respond. But I definitely think, as you mentioned, like the latter probably kind of exists, where nowadays coaching is very much like reels of almost trying to sell something new, when in reality everything works as long as you train hard. And that's something that I'll stand by till the last day on this planet, which for me is probably about 8 years. So yeah, I've got about 8 years left, guys. Hopefully, like I said, that FitX Pro card is secure by then. But like I said, either way, I think it'd be one of those where sorry?
FitX Pro.
Yeah, it sounds sounds great. But yeah, like I think it's one of those where nowadays, if I was 17, 18 again, I wouldn't even know where to look. And I think certain times, like I'm probably a bit of a Marmite person, I'd say. Like I get told that all the time, which I don't even know, but I get told it. And it's like, I think to some 16, 17, 18-year-olds who are taking their training really serious, or I say that up until junior bodybuilders, they're probably like, you know what, this guy's just training hard, making fucking good progress. His clients are all pretty strong. I'm going to go to him, you know, because it's like, that's the side of things. And I definitely would say my passion within coaching stems directly from training. Like, as much as I'm like quite knowledgeable on PDs now and obviously like preps and stuff like that, if you were to say flat out, like, what do I enjoy most? Like, I enjoy most when I see someone deadlift a fucking lot of weight and I'm like, sick, that's cool. You weren't doing that a year ago, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think, for the sake of clarity, like both myself and Luke have definitely suggested improvements to your training, but I mean, obviously both of us don't carry the same amount of muscle mass. But I think
wait, let me ask, Luke, what the fuck have you said, bro? I haven't heard what you said. Come on, tell me.
It's probably just on here.
Fair enough, bro.
I've
seen Jack's reel, but I'm not seeing yours, Luke. Come on, bro.
I backed you in my reel, first of all.
Yeah.
I backed you in my reel.
Yeah, no.
Well, I backed you against time on attention because time on attention is complete wank. But like, I feel like
what's
I guess it's
the short version of the reel, because I didn't see it.
Basically some guys
supposed
said
to be podcast hosts. Turns up late. Bro asks me without telling me, and now says this. Oh, Luke, man, you've had a nightmare, bro.
Someone commented on Reece's T-bar rows, and they said he should slow it down. I was like, yeah, sure. And then he was like, if the set should last 30 to 45 seconds to make you grow.
No, it was 45 to 60. It was 45 to 60.
And then I was like, I don't know where the fuck you're pulling that from. That literally, muscles don't wait 45 seconds to start growing. That's complete wank. And then I had a bunch of very specific old school lifters who I didn't know were a niche that existed, being like, oh, but Dorian did time on attention. I'm like, no, Dorian lifted with control. That's very different to being like set to be 45 seconds. But I feel like, particularly like I get injured very, very easily. So often, and I think, to be fair, Luke, the same. So often the things that we preach will be like, you should trade off load at the expense of things like range of motion and control. But it's interesting to hear your take on like, your training you're enjoying, are you progressing, is it working? But if it isn't, then make those suggestions.
Yeah,
I think, you know, it's like, a refreshing take, because I think a lot of people, I don't know, fall into like camps with training.
Yeah.
And
I
as
think
soon
it's
as
somewhere in the middle, personally, that should be the answer. Like, but I will also say, and this is like me being completely honest, if you go to a pure gym, if we were to like, let's say, end this podcast, all meet up and go to a pure gym, if we were to go and find a guy doing single arm pull downs, like the first guy we see with immaculate form, incredible range of motion, like almost overdoing it, and then look at his musculature, and then you go and find a dude doing triple drop sets on the flat bench with his training partner lifting it off him, go and look at the musculature. And again, this is backed by nothing other than complete and utter bro science. The guy doing triple drop sets is going to probably be more jacked, you know? And I think like intensity is something you can't really learn. You can obviously within a time frame relative to doing the exercise, but I think if you can have that baseline, like almost I'm being a bit silly, I'm going to just like be a bit of a weapon today in the gym, but I'm just going to train hard, and then you can fine tune that. It's better than doing it the other way around, in my opinion.
I really don't think it makes that much of a difference for growth. I'm not going to lie. I think more for me, the concern would be more like injury. But if you're not,
I get that. Yeah,
then
but I'd argue if you think about injuries when you're starting out, you're probably not strong enough to be lifting. You know, the load like required to really cause some damage.
True, 100%.
So
Luke,
to go to your question then, the reason I was late is because I was just with a client, and I think that's where a lot of my almost bias comes from, is the people that I train in person are a bit broken, right?
Yeah.
So finding something that's enjoyable for them a lot of the time means it doesn't fucking hurt. And a lot of the reason that stuff hurts for people is because they've overdone the load for the skill that they've got, or they're forcing themselves into positions that they can't actually control and get to. So I think speed is one of the easiest things you can bring into an exercise, of like giving it a bit of an oomph and yanking it. It's once if you've got it to a place where it's controlled and it's on the target area and they're feeling it well, and then you go, right, okay, let's give it a bit now. And is that okay on the joint, rather than if you're just like fucking yanking it about? It's really hard to get someone to think about the right things and get it into the target area and it not hurt them. Do you know what I mean?
No, I get that. Yeah, that makes complete sense. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when you're training, like you say there, you enjoy it and it's working. Like you wouldn't do what you do if it wasn't working.
No, definitely. I'd be wasting my time. But also, like, again, just with a backing to this, like, I have trained for 13 years. Like, I've trained for half my life at this point. And my ability to connect, like, I could do, like, let's say my side delts. Like, I don't really train my side delts. I could genuinely do the worst form. Like, I could do let's say, a lying lateral raise with, like, my elbows fully flexed and just shrugging the weight up, and I guarantee if you were to then like if I said take a photo of my side delts afterwards, they'd be blown the fuck up because I can still connect with it, even though it makes no sense to be like, bro, that's literally just trap. All you're doing is elevating through your scapula. Like there's literally no side delt there, bar maybe the slightest bit. My ability to connect at this point, just due to my training experience, is pretty sound. But if, let's say, for example, you had one of your guys coming in injured, okay, cool, he's gonna literally have scoliosis the following day. Like that's not gonna be great, you know. So yeah.
Well, I'll keep it short because I was saying this to Jack last week, but I've got a client who's got a really fucked up shoulder, and it's like dumbbell lateral raises are out of the question. Doing a cable lateral raise is out of the question. How we're training his shoulders is my hand on his arm and just applying a little bit of resistance. Like the weight of his of his leg is almost too much for him some days. And I know if we're like, right, let's fling that about, that's going to piss some stuff up. But there's other stuff where we don't need to pay so much attention to, you know, exactly how it's being performed, because it's got a bit more flexibility there. Do you know what I mean? In terms of what we can deal with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Training really just boils down to like, is it working? Is it fun? And if you're growing off it, then sick. If you're growing off it but you're injured, then it's like what you said, to be fair, of the squatting patterns, Reece. Like you were doing squatting patterns, you're getting crazy strong with them, but you're getting knee pain, so fuck it off. And then you know, so yeah. I mean, it's nice to see. Like I feel like your ideology around training is very well balanced, which is nice to see. I think a lot of people tend to like, again, just kind of put themselves in camps and then put a thing on their social media being like, everyone's in camps. Why is everyone in camp? That's still in the camp. But yeah, I mean, like your influence on training definitely is clear. I mean, in people like Jacob Tipper, fucking first of all, nuts physique, but you can like you can see like you both train in a really really similar way, but it works for fucking both of you clearly.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. 100%. Like he's probably the most similar to me, which is like really nice to work with him. But like it's like very when I train with him, I'm like within the first set, like few sets, I'm like, oh, okay, we're in for a session today, which I don't really think ever. But like I imagine because I'll have clients that train with me, and like after like 3 or 4 sets, like I'll look at them, I'm like, are you okay, bro? And they're like, yeah, man, I'm doing all right. And like it's kind of similar when I'm training with Jacob. I'm like, okay, cool. This is gonna be a good session. Gonna have to lock in. So yeah.
I feel like a lot of people really lose love for training, especially in diet phases. And like the most successful bodybuilders that you hear are always like, it's just about the training. I don't care about getting tanned in my pants.
Yeah.
Like the physique is just a byproduct of me getting strong at several things. You know, it's almost like, I guess, a similar mindset to like a powerlifter where they're like, I really want a big SBD, whereas bodybuilding is a bit more like, I want to be fucking everything. I want to be able to grip it, pull it, row it, fly it, like fucking press it, hinge it, whatever. And
shag
I
think it. Shag it.
Shag it. 100%.
Cool.
100%, man.
Yeah.
I mean, the plate's got a hole in, so.
Oh, mate, yeah, I've not got the girth for that, bro.
It's like throwing a hot dog down a fucking alleyway.
Going back to what you said about the, like, you know, the guy doing the triple drop jets or the geezer doing the single arm pull downs. I'm in a gym group, like I see this sort of shit, and there's almost this weird trend with sort of young people, like teenagers, early 20s, where they're training. I say that like I'm not 23. They're training slow, but there's not actually any intent there. Like
I've seen this.
You're like,
it's bad.
Okay, so it's going to get hard at some point, right? It's going to get more challenging. They just stop.
It's like seeing someone do a Keenan flap, 5 reps because 5 to 8, 1 set because that's all you need, bro. Like, and then just like nowhere near any level of intensity, and it's like,
yeah, it's like they've missed the intensity side of things, and they've got everything else nailed, and they're not understanding that like you just need to take it a little bit closer to failure, bro. Like that's all it is.
Yeah, I think so many people are so scared of letting form slip. Like whenever someone says that, I'll be like, right, film your set and let form slip. Like lift until you feel like you're being a dickhead, and then watch it back. And I guarantee you, half the time you're not. Like I was doing a bent over row today, and I was like, right, I'll take a couple dickhead reps. Went to the back of the set.
Yeah, buddy reps. Yeah, buddy reps.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, buddy. Sorry, buddy. So I watched it back and was like, actually, they were kind of calm. Like, who even cares? But if you hold yourself to such a high standard with form, like you are going to be just kind of needlessly making things difficult to progress. And ultimately, as long as your form's like similar, who gives a shit? It's like the whole length and partials versus full ROM. Are they the same thing? It's like, well, yeah, if you keep your ROM the same and you get stronger, you're getting stronger. So yeah, no shit, there's not much of a difference. Going back to Jacob for a second, if we don't mind taking the attention away from you, mate.
Yes.
What's the story behind Jacob, your co-coach, and how did you meet him, and what was the kind of decision to bring him on? Because he's extremely talented. But
yeah, good question, man. Was this a planned question, or was this just came up because we mentioned Jacob?
It was a planned question. It's all planned.
Okay, sorry, bro. I was just wondering because it'd be good if it came from the fly. So yeah, so Jacob got started with me. I think Christmas Day, 2023.
Wow.
Which is crazy. Like literally, it was our birthdays are really close. So it was like I think it might have been like it was for his birthday. He was like, I need to get a coach, and Jacob sent me some photos initially, and I was like, oh, for 18 at this point. Oh no, he just turned 19. I was like, oh, he looks really good, but I didn't think like. I don't know if you've seen the meme. I posted it, and it was like when you think you're getting like a puppy. And then you get a dinosaur, you get like a T-Rex. So it's like, what you think you get a puppy, and then instead you get a T-Rex. That's kind of what I thought, because I got the photos from Jacob, and I was like, oh, it'd be okay. And then he turns into an absolute freak. And then like within the first couple of weeks, I was like, okay, he's like really like very, very on it. And he mentioned to me he wanted to do like a rookie season as like a team. If I thought he was going to be good enough. So I was like, let's see you in person. Let me just have a look at you and we can go from there. And I saw him, Finn had a meetup day at the JP gym, like a week after it opened or something. And I said to Jacob, he lives about an hour away. Come up, let me have a look at you. And I remember like he posed in the bathroom. This was before they had the posing room. And like bro was so scared to he like took his top off and he like the door opened and he was like wanting to put his top on. He like no self-confidence in regards to his physique. And like he just had like muscle on muscle that I've like not really seen ever. Like genetically, I was like, what the fuck is this? Like, I've got a lot of good clients, like really good clients, but he just like, for a 19-year-old, I was like, this is absurd for a natty. Like, this does not make sense. Obviously, I'm not going to be like this in person. So I was like, yeah, man, yeah, you look all right. Yeah, I think you definitely prepped this year. Like, you look good. Meanwhile, I messaged Finn being like, Finn, come to the change room now. You need to see this kid. Like, this is a joke. So I'm just like taking photos, and I'm like midway through, like, Finn, please come to the change room. You need to see this. Bearing in mind, he's training in a t-shirt. I think his girlfriend came with him. He literally in a t-shirt looked like your standard 19-year-old, like as like natural bodybuilding in general, to be fair, but like didn't look anything impressive. Saw him pose, and I was like, okay, it's gonna be pretty good. And then I feel like similar with, obviously, I guess you guys know Josh Campbell, like similar with Josh, where they just get better in the prep.
I've seen him at Apollo before, walking around in a t-shirt, and then he takes his t-shirt off. Oh, and you're like, oh, you're an alien. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's like they completely change. But I more mean in the way of like in the prep, Jacob was really good to start with, and so was Josh, but they get better. It's like Jacob was like legitimately like growing while he was getting leaner. And like I remember him at like 3 weeks out messaging me being like, hey bro, I've just took a +4 rep hack squat progression. And I was like, what? Like, you're 3 weeks out peeled like this. I saw hey bro, and I was expecting like a bad message, like, I don't know, I've done something, I've injured this or whatever. And like I saw through the prep, like we got quite close because we started training, we did a few training sessions, I had Sam film with us and stuff like that. And I remember at like maybe 4, 5, 6 weeks out, I was like, he could probably win an overall here with his physique. Like, I don't think he's going to be getting beat really. He did for his first show. And I think just like probably how he managed himself on show day, I went to Amsterdam with him and he was asking me, like, when we were together, he was asking me the right sort of questions. It was very much a case of him being really eager to learn, and he like just ticked every single box in regards to, he like reminded me very much of myself, just as a younger version. He's different in a lot of ways, like in for some better or worse, doesn't really matter. He's not the same as me, because I don't want a carbon copy, like clone. That's not what I want as a business partner. But like in an ideal world, like a year or two from now, instead of it being like me and Jacob, it'll be me and him, and then probably a few other people, which we've got quite a good plan with. But Jacob's like been absolutely spot on. Like, his physique is obviously very good, but you match that with like, there's no surprise when I see his progressions, especially like even from a business standpoint, because he's like just almost like never satisfied, but just really always wanting to do more. And again, like you just see it, like you guys will know with your clients, like some clients just get it when it comes to the work they need to do, the questions they ask, how they hold themselves, how they manage time, how they manage stress. And Jacob is like not to, this is probably the nicest I've ever been about him. So Jacob, if you listen to him, I'm so sorry, bro, because I'm usually just, I lie to you all the time. I'm like, bro, you could be so much better. But like, he is just like spot on in every single way, which is really, really cool. I couldn't speak highly enough of him, if I'm honest.
Mental, man. He is clearly very talented. I mean, to be fair, leading on from that, you've got in your roster some extremely talented people. I saw Jacob Fairhurst, is it, on stage in person? Ridiculous, bro. Where the fuck has he been hiding? What?
Mate, so he competed in 2023. And he got second at UKDFBA at regional. I think he got 5th at finals. And I said to him basically, mate, if you appealed, you'd win that easy. Like, there wouldn't even be questions. You'd be close in the overall. And he always like, I feel like, because, and I said to him, he was Jacob Tipper before Jacob Tipper, he just never got all the way in condition wise. And because he was similar age, I think he was like 20. Like, Jake obviously competed as a 19-year-old, but I think he was 20, because he was only 22 this year. And when I saw him like on stage, I said to him, like, 100%, like, you fucking destroy everybody. And he wasn't even going to prep this year. It was actually based off, I was coaching his like training partner. And I just got chatting to him because he used to let me into his gym for free, basically. He's not his gym, but the gym he works at, like Reception Boys. He used to let me in for free, and I just started chatting to him, and he was like, "Oh, I want to do next year. That's the goal." And I was like, "Well, what is your goal?" And he told me, and I was like, "That's doable this year if you're 100%." And he didn't believe me, and I said to him, "What? Right, I'll coach you." I was like, "I'll coach you for free for like a month. Let me get you lean," because he was dieting. I was like, "If you get to the end of the month and you look shit, cool, we'll go our separate ways, but let me just take over for a month, see how you look at the end of the month, and I guarantee you'll be like, Reece, no one's fucking coming close to me, bro. I'm gonna be good." And that's basically what happened, where it was like, we got to the end of the first month, he was like he was quite close to that sort of, not like stage condition, but you know, where you actually, it becomes a prep, where you're like, I actually look pretty fucking good. And he was like, "Yeah, let's go for it." So yeah, Jacob, I don't know if you saw Sam Bream, the teen that had in the same show. Yeah, another one. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, it's not. I think a lot of guys. I had what's his name? Not Lee. He's the UKDFBA guy. Ben Howard. You know, the UKDFBA guy.
Ben is
he came up to me. yeah, joke. He came up to me and he was like, mate, he was like, why, where are these boys coming from? And I can almost tell they're your lads. He was like, because they all look so similar, like even like facially they look similar. He was like, are you just spawning these lads? And I'm like, yeah, man, I stand outside of primary school and just like scout for young talent. That's what it is. Come on. But no, like I think again, it's one of those where you see obviously Jacob doing really well last year helped me out business wise, because as much as I've been similar sort of clients for the last like year or so, but I mean quality, like people see that and they're like, oh cool, I'm a teen or I'm a junior, I'm gonna go to that guy, especially if it's early on in the year. And then it kind of just builds from there. Like it kind of go like I don't think, and again, this is a very cocky statement, but I think relative to like coaches of my sort of bracket, I don't think there's many coaches with the same quality. Like I've had over like 15 wins so far this season, which is like pretty wild, because some coaches get to the end of the season with like only 5 clients and they have 1 win if that. And it's like most of the time I go to shows, I'm like, right, cool, top 3s minimum, which is not really a testament to myself. It's just the clients that come to me. I'm very lucky, like really, really lucky.
What do you think? Obviously, yeah, other than genetics, whatever. Like, what do you think is the kind of common denominator between those lads? Because there's definitely like all of the, whenever you have like a ridiculous athlete, or if there's any ridiculous athlete, I'll always go and like start their page and be like, right, well, like let's see what you're doing. And a lot of them definitely like they have a very like, I know what like Ben was on about. Like there is a very similar look. There's a very similar training. There's a very similar mindset.
Yeah.
What kind of key principles do you think are there if we were to break that down that creates that success?
I'll go a bit rogue on this question, but I think it's the ones that can just hack it in general when it comes to like probably how I am as a coach. Because I'm very like, I'm very intense. I don't like, I don't mollycoddle. I don't babysit. I hear like, as much as, let's say, for example, like Finn, I have the ultimate amount of respect for Finn. I hear how Finn speaks and I hear how like I speak. And if Finn's clients came to me, they'd be like, oh, like, Finn's very straight to the point, but I'm like really straight to the point. And for some, it's a perfect blend. But like for others, they can't hack it. And that's just unfortunately just how I am. I've always been very, it's not like military, like you'll get some coaches, Zach Foringham, you know, pro coach, who's like, he'll be like, you're in the trenches, bro, and you know, time to dig and shit like that. Like some people love that shit. I'm not like that. Like I'm just very much like, if someone was to come to me with an issue, I'll be a coach and a friend if they need, but I'm also like, realistically, bro, you're 8 weeks out, you're not lean enough to be feeling like this, because I've been there or I've had clients there. You just need to crack on. And like every season I've had multiple people leave me and either not get on stage or go to other coaches, but they end up not doing that well because they're probably just not ready for it. And I'll be the first one to say that. And I also am very, very critical regarding the guys that get on stage, because I'm putting my name to them. So like I think a lot of people will just go, oh cool, let's get you on stage. Like for me, it took me 9 years to get on stage myself, and I've coached myself through every prep. So like I know the standard, and I also will like be very honest with people. So like if I don't think they're holding themselves to the standard, I've already this year pulled out 2 people from prep, and one of them's already left me because I was like, I'm not putting my name to you. Sorry, that's how it works. And last year was similar. But if I was to give an answer to your question and not go rogue, sorry, I'm talking too much. I would probably say it's that like when you take the training and you're then so on it in regards to other areas, I think the prep just becomes again part of a process. And it's not just thinking about the show, it's thinking about how you can be better each day. And when you can take that off season into prep, you will have a really successful prep. But when you are constantly thinking about just the show date, you get way ahead of yourself and you end up not enjoying the actual process, which is literally what a bodybuilding prep's all about. Like obviously, like Jack, I'm gonna be honest, have you competed before? I don't think you have you?
No, right now.
Luke, you have. Show days go so quick. Like if you only enjoy the show, you're going to get to the end of the prep and be like, why the fuck did I do that? I didn't even, like, so much work for a minuscule amount of reward, you know? So yeah.
And this prep compared to my last one in 2021, I just got fucking buried. You probably know who it is, but Lewis Emmanuel was in my first show.
Oh yeah, sick, bro. Yeah, fair.
I'm like, oh great, this is good for my confidence.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, that's like that's hard to go into for a first,
because just sort of used to, I've been doing it for longer, and I've actually got way more shit to occupy my time. Before I was just a student with basically fuck all to do, so I'm just thinking about bodybuilding all the time. And then getting to the end of it, I'm like, fucking hell, I'm knackered. This was like, I enjoyed it, but I'm like, this sucks. Whereas this time I'm leaner than I was before, like 20 pounds heavier. and actually getting closer to condition than before.
Yeah.
Like I just didn't have enough tissue to get into condition before, which is not fun.
Yeah.
I was going to say the training execution thing, like a lot, the science crowd with doing the studies and training, and, you know, this is more effective than that, and we need to go to this many reps in reserve. I don't know if you saw the study that Milo Wolf did and Pack and Brad Schoenfeld and that sort of thing on comparing 2 reps in reserve to failure.
Mm-hmm.
But they posted some videos in the training study of people performing it. And you look at it and you go, that just looks like fucking pure gym training.
Yeah.
Like some of it's like they're on the Smith machine and it's supposed to be like a 3-second eccentric and they're just dive bombing the reps. Or like someone's doing a tricep extension and their arms coming up to here and they're flailing about. And you're like, you're not comparing failure and 2 reps in reserve. You're comparing shit form and shit form.
Yeah. I get that. I think that is the unfortunate aspect of the science, like, and the evidence-based crowd of you actually, like, unfortunately, a lot of the times you can't see the studies on the participants, but if you actually were to look at them, they are not bodybuilders at all, and they're anything but. And there's so many other variables that you will never be able to control, and you're not going to get a bodybuilder who knows how to train who will go, yep, cool, take over my life for 8 weeks. It's not going to be the case, and get a group of them where you can actually find if there's like significant difference. So I think there's obviously, and this is the unfortunate aspect, because every couple months there's new studies that are coming out that are so contradictory towards what was previously believed. But again, meet in the middle, use common sense, look upon what works, and look upon the studies for almost like, I look upon the studies in a way where like I have that as almost like a road, like a map, but I kind of think there's other ways that you can go through things. But like the end destination makes sense, like 100%. Like there's going to be some benefit, but there's many ways to get there.
Yeah. I think that John Jewett has one of the best takes on this of like all time that I've ever heard, is like people misuse science. Like people who say they're science-based aren't science-based, because part of science is looking at, okay, what did the best do and what can I learn from that? And like if you look at some of the top bodybuilders, yeah, there's different approaches. You got Ronnie versus Jay as a classic example, very different ideas around lifting, but like there are a lot of common denominators across, like you said, if you went into a pure gym, you look at who's the biggest. If you do that consistently and you go, oh shit, there's a trend here, why the fuck would you ignore that? That is evidence. Like, yeah, it's anecdotal, but with enough anecdotal evidence, if we're seeing that everyone who is successful does certain things and everyone who avoids that is noticeably less successful, it's like, well, then why are you purposefully avoiding it? And that's the thing, is like, I think people almost are like study based rather than being science based, and they're kind of almost looking for like hacks and cheats and things. And it's like I'll see like creators and people who like their opinions on training today are like different to a week ago, and it's like, that's what's changed. Like if you're constantly changing your approach and your methodology, you're not going to see progress. Just find something, stick to it, get better at it. The longer you can do the same thing, the better off you are.
And it also isn't going to be good because most of these guys are coaches, and then they swap up their beliefs to clients, and then they revert back and pivot back. I remember 2021, I had a client who left me for a style of coaches where their training style was very different. And immediately it was like, I'm doing this block, I'm making so much progress, this is amazing, I've got a deload every 5 to 6 weeks, probably giving away who they went to coaching wise. And then 6 months later, sound back to normal. And it's like, like clients, imagine like your coach is literally like, hey bro, we're doing this now. You'd be a bit like, God, I'm just being taken for like a lab rat here. Like there's no backing. Like you don't even have evidence yourself. Like you just signed up with a new coach. Yeah, crazy. Anyway, Jack, where's the juicy questions, bro? Come on, get me cancelled. Where we at?
All right, I've got one juicy question. You don't have to answer. To be fair, I don't know how juicy this is going to be. You don't have to answer. It's absolutely fine. But obviously, you and Josh Jenkins had a little bit of a falling out. Are you comfortable with answering this question? Is it all right?
Yeah, 100%.
I didn't know. I don't want to cross any boundaries.
No.
But yeah, so like it was kind of it wasn't hugely talked about online, but you had a co-coach, Josh Jenkins. For those of you who don't know, that's, well, there you go. That's his name, Josh Jenkins. And now you've obviously got Jacob. I don't think Jacob is a replacement. That's not the implication I'm trying to make. But what was the kind of what was the end of that like relationship? What kind of like catalyzed that, and how did that go?
Okay, I think it's been long enough. I can probably be quite honest and open about it, to be fair. I will be. So yeah, this is probably the first time I speak about publicly. Personally, I got no issue with Josh. No issue at all. I thought, like, if I was to speak of Jacob in the way, I would speak of Josh in a way, maybe prior to obviously him leaving, in probably a similar way in regards to, in a different way though. Josh came to me as a guy, it was 2021, and he was like, college, didn't really know where his life was heading, was very up and down mentally, and the progression I saw within Josh from a psychological sense and also physically was ridiculous. Like, it was so cool. I remember Josh asking me like randomly in the first month about like a girlfriend, and he like voice noted me, and I was like voice noting at like 10 o'clock at night, and I was like, oh, this life like is quite deep down, like not maybe 100%, but I saw potential in him because I was like, you can tell he's a nice guy. And Josh went from, like I said, someone who didn't really have any direction, didn't really have any like actual main like goal in life, to being really locked in and focused towards a goal. We became really close. I'd argue that, like, from a personal sense, I was actually way closer to Josh than I was with Jacob, which actually kind of helps, because it's, I think when you get a little bit too close, the lines can be blurred, especially within a prep-based setting. Like, we go to football games together, we do a lot of social activities. Like, Josh was, like, honestly, like, one of my like very close friends, and I look back with admiration for that. It's like it was really nice. Towards the end of, like, when, well, I say towards the end now, we'll go back a bit. We then went to prep in 2023, and if I'm being completely honest, I think, like, obviously Tim now coaches and Tim would probably share the same sort of thoughts. Josh maybe isn't the best in prep from a psychological sense. Like, I think he struggles a bit, if I'm honest. Like, I don't think he dealt with prep that well. Out of, like, if you were to put a gun to my head and say who's like one of the toughest prep clients I've had, Josh would definitely be one of those. And again, is that all him? No, it's probably the relationship we had. It's probably the fact that we were quite close, and obviously we worked together at the same time. And I think definitely there were lines blurred where, like, from, like, you guys probably know a bit, like, where you've got a client who mentions to you about a refeed or an off-plan meal like every fucking day, and then it gets to the point where you don't want to give them the refeed because you're like, you're mentioning this and therefore I'm not wanting to give you it. And, like, Josh by the end of the prep was like, yeah, so it's like, it was quite challenging because it was like, it wasn't every day, but it was like very much like, I don't think Josh's signaling was very good at knowing when he was like, I think Josh was really fucked, but I don't think his ability to know when he was like mega fucked was. He was just fucked constantly, as you should be in a first prep. It's hard, and we started in a shit position. Like, we started way too fat, and that's again probably my fault and his fault, but more so probably mine. We were like pushing pretty hard. I knew he needed more size, so we were just like full sending everything. So pretty shit starting point. Josh then obviously, like, some people deal with preps but differently. That was a first timer prep. Looking back in hindsight, we would have started leaner, wouldn't have needed to push up as much, would have probably given us a little bit more time and probably been a bit more aggressive at the start in comparison to the end. And then by the end of the prep, it had just been like, and the thing is like, results wise, he got second in a first timer junior lineup that was really good. Like, it was a good result. But I think because I did the same show 2 years before, I remember him saying to me, like, I need to win the overall because you did. And I think, like, he just put a lot of unnecessary pressure on himself. And then you mix that in with then, like, the back end of the prep, like, we aimed to do more shows, didn't really go to plan, visual got worse. And I think from then, like, it all almost had got like where it had been a bit soured, the relationship, because it was like, I tried my best, he tried his best, but our best wasn't good enough. And as a result, like, it was almost a case where we both just a bit like, like, I didn't really go to plan, and that affected things. We still did a lot of stuff together. We still carried on working together. And then he was working at CSN. He got made redundant from CSN. Again, hopefully he doesn't mind me saying this, but this is the truth. I was paying him. Sorry?
CSN went tits up.
Yeah, is CSN still a thing? I don't know if anyone knows. Is this still a thing?
I feel like it is. Let's look it up.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they went bankrupt.
Oh, really? I do know, like,
They have
again,
a
I'm not going to say, are they're still a thing?
Yeah, they do have a website that you can buy from. Oh, wow, that's very cheap. Wow, that's a lot of discounts. Oh,
They
my
are.
God.
Yep. Guys, if you want supplements, CSN right now. I was sponsored by them. REECE 10 might still work. Let's see if it works. So yeah, so basically carrying on. I don't want to get down too much of a tangent. CSN made him redundant because they were going bust or something. I don't know. I was paying him like a percentage split per client. We had like an agreement, you get to a certain amount of clients, I pay you more, all that sort of stuff. Bearing in mind, like, throughout the coaching, like, and throughout where things were, like, when it comes to Josh, if we ever did anything, I'd always like, I don't even need to say this, but I'd always like hook him up. I'd always buy his food. I'd always like spend a good amount of him. When it came to like videographer fees, they pay for nothing. It was always like, as it should be, like that's my business. It wasn't Josh's business. So there was a lot of times where like I spent a good amount of money, but I didn't even care. It's like, this is good for the business. And Josh came to me basically asking for more money based off the fact that CSN had gone under. This was also when I was setting up the gym, like kit wise. And I said to him, yeah, man, like I can give you a bit more, like we can change the percentage a little bit, but also like this is away from our coaching. Like if it'd be like in that month, I remember spending like, not to get too much into figures, but I spent way in excess of like 25 grand, 30 grand in 1 month just based off gym kit. And I was like, if I had then spent, let's say if that was 50 grand that I just spent, I'm not going to come to you and say, hey mate, I'm going to pay you less, because that is kind of like the same. Like it's external. Like what we do and what you do is very, very different. Like you've been made redundant. That's not condoning me. That says to me, go and get another job. That's kind of what I'd look upon it. He then got a girlfriend who, again, like he's not with now. I don't really know anything bad or good. I just know that obviously he probably had her, maybe he was speaking to and stuff like that. And then as a result, we filmed together. I used to book Sam like twice a month, so I'd spend like over £1,000 easily, like on Sam, so my videographer. And then Josh, we filmed. Josh then started uploading the reels without tagging Team ReeceFit. He wasn't like really speaking to me that much, and I was like, "Uh-oh, this isn't looking good." Like, bearing in mind, this is content that I paid for. That he's not like put anything regarding coaching. And then he basically, we had a FitX Expo last year, and I said to him, I pulled him up immediately and was like, Josh, we need to talk. Like, what's up? Like, is everything okay? And he was like, mate, everything's fine. Everything's cool. The next day, I wake up to a message, hey, mate, I'm leaving as a client, leaving as a coach. Like, thanks for everything, basically. And I was like, oh, what the fuck? I felt like really let down, if I'm honest. So I hopped on a call.
That's one of those messages you open and go, oh, fuck.
Yeah, I hopped on a call.
How do I process?
Yeah, literally hopped on a call. I had Sanaya actually on another call, because I was like, I told Sanaya and I was like, what the fuck do I do? I don't want, obviously, I wasn't calling to, I just wanted clarity, because I wasn't really, when you get a text message and you saw the person the day before, and you've helped out, you coached for 3 years, you've gone through a prep with, you've paid a lot of money to and helped out in a lot of ways. Like, I was like, oh my God, what the fuck? Like, this is not nice. And the call kind of was ended on like,
Quickly, I've got a shoot for another client now, another broken person, so I'm gonna get them to do some buddy.
Crack on.
But thank you very much for coming on, mate. In class.
Cool. Cheers. Thank you, mate. It's been a pleasure. See you later. Sorry, Jack, I've wrapped this up because it's getting boring. But yeah, so I pretty much like we ended the call on the fact that Josh may come back and I'll have a think, and he was like, no, in an ideal world I still work for you. I just, like, it was basically based off a few things, and again, like, I wasn't perfect. There was a lot of things probably that I pissed him off with. I remember him saying a few things that I said to him in prep where I was like, mate, I probably did blur the lines there, I apologize, but like that's just how I am. Like, he probably just didn't respond well to it. And I then like had a think, and I spoke to Sanaa and I was like, no, this is fucked. Like, this is a bit unfair. Like, Josh, go your own way. That's cool. Let's leave things here. At that point, I was paying him ahead for a month, so I'd like pay him a month ahead. I don't even know how we agreed on that. And then he messaged me being like, you owe me this much money. And I was like, mate, I really don't. I've already paid you this. I've done this. I've done that. I've done you enough favors. Let's just leave it here. Like, it doesn't make sense. Like, again, at the same time, like, not, it sounds cocky, but money was more so principle, because I was like, I've been quite like led astray here, and I felt quite betrayed. But at the same time, I understood where he was coming from, and I said to him, like, in my opinion, in 6 months, like, do I think you'll be coaching on your own? Looking off like how his work rate, if I compare it to, let's say, Jacob, and this again being very honest, I said to him, I think it will do you good in a way, because it will show you how hard it is to get clients on your own. Because Josh came to me before he was coaching. Like, he basically started coaching maybe 2 or 3 of his friends, and then he came to me. So I working with me. Where, like, you know yourself, getting those first 5 to 10 clients is so challenging, and you have to be so on it. And that's the reason, like with Jacob, for example, when I spoke to him about potentially having him on board, there was probably a good 5 or 6 people that I was coaching that I was thinking of. But I said to Jacob, I want you to do it on your own and get to like 5 to 10 clients on your own, because you'll appreciate the work for when I send you a client, how much that means. But when you've not gone through that grinding period, you just think, oh yeah, sound cool. Reece is going to get applications, and like without even realizing, this is subconscious. Josh wouldn't even known that he would have thought like this, but he would have thought, yeah, sound. I don't need to travel. I don't need to do extra content. I don't need to like come to and do real. Let's say when I film with Sam, Josh sometimes would turn up with like no real ideas, like reels, like not real ideas. No, like he wouldn't have ideas for reels and shit. And I was like, mate, this is like a minimum you need to do. This is what you need to think of. So like I think that again, it's probably a combination where just that sort of relationship went a bit sour. The input from his end wasn't up to the standard that I was expecting, and as a result, I was then probably acting not out of line, but like acting as a business owner, where I was like, "Mate, come on, like this needs to be better." And because of that sort of slightly soured relationship from Prep, he then was responding in a negative way, and it was probably just too much negativity. So looking back, fantastic decision from Josh. Going to be completely honest, don't really know how well he's doing coaching wise now, but I imagine it's probably given him a bit of a kick up the arse to be like, right, I actually do need to apply myself. But that isn't from him like directly, that's just from how things were left, you know?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's probably the answer. Any questions you have off that? I feel like I've handled that quite well, but also I don't mean to offend like Josh if you're watching this. My true honest thoughts. I'm sorry, it's just how things are.
I doubt he's watching, to be fair, but there was a sorry to get it was a little bit of a gossipy question, to be fair, so hence why I was a bit hesitant to ask, because it's one of those things where like you never know what the behind the scenes is and kind of how touchy that is. But I think it's a very understandable situation to want, like, you know, well, for you didn't really terminate the relationship, but for the relationship to be terminated, and you'd kind of wonder, like, if you keep on dragging it out, where's that going to lead to? And you know, so I think I mean, with all the hindsight in the world, it worked out amazingly for both parties. So
I agree.
So at the end of the day, fucking it's all calm. But yeah, mate, I'd better wrap things up there, because I have got a call in a little bit. Sorry to cut you off. And your time is much more important than mine. But huge thank you for coming on the pod, seriously, and for letting us schedule it in so short notice. If anyone wants to reach you, I mean, like, plug yourself, mate. We don't have a huge audience, but go ahead.
Okay, guys, I'm a very average influencer at this point. Social media bodybuilder, part gym owner, luckily, and as I said, horrendous comedian, because I'm not. I try and say witty jokes. I like cringe afterwards. I'm like, oh, it's so bad. But yeah, ReeceFit on all social media platforms, I guess. That sound. Yeah, I don't know. I've only been on a few podcasts. I don't even know how to outro myself. Like I don't have to intro myself, but that's that. Either way, appreciate you, Jack, getting me on. Really enjoyable chat, really enjoyable. And like, to be fair, I usually say like no to most podcasts, but obviously based off our previous chat, you know, at the show that you were at, like, I thought that was like, it was a nice chat, and obviously your client was lovely as well. So it's cool to see obviously someone in the industry who I think is like doing it for the right reasons, and it's like, it's positive, which I know that this conversation would have been just nothing but positive. So yeah, it's really cool. So yeah, that's that. Thank you for having me, guys. Hopefully I haven't rambled on. Hope I haven't been cancelled for my conversation with Josh. That was just completely being honest. I'm gonna have my PR, my PR agent come to me and be like, Reece, shouldn't have said that, bro. Shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, if there's just like a half an hour bleep at the end of the podcast, you know, something's gone wrong. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. I won't keep you any longer.
Awesome.
We'll end the recording there.